Let's talk about Mongolia. When you picture it, you probably think of these endless skies and vast windswept plains. And you'd be right. It's a land so harsh, so unforgiving, that for centuries it forged some of the most legendary warriors the world has ever seen. But out of this incredible landscape, one man, in particular, was about to rise up and completely change the course of human history.
From these wild steps rose a man who would reshape the world more than any king or emperor before him, Genghis Khan. I mean, that's a huge statement, right? But it's true. This is the story of how that one man built the largest continuous land empire in history with a force the world had never, ever seen before. So to really understand the conqueror, you got to go back to the beginning. We have to start with the boy. And his story, well, it doesn't begin with glory or power. It begins with just unimaginable hardship in the brutal, unforgiving world of the 12th century steppe. The boy who would one day become Genghis Khan, his name was Temujin, and his childhood was just this relentless series of tragedies. I mean, first his father is poisoned by a rival tribe. Then his own tribe abandons him and his family, just leaves them to fend for themselves. They nearly starved to death. And as if all that wasn't enough, he was later captured and enslaved, forced to wear this heavy wooden collar around his neck. But here's the thing, Temujin refused to break. He survived it all. So how does this kid who went through all of that become a world-changing leader? Well, he takes on a task that everyone thought was completely impossible. For centuries, the Mongol tribes were just locked in this cycle of endless, bitter fighting. No one had ever managed to unite them until Temujin came along. And the huge turning point comes in the year 1206. After years of brutal warfare, making these incredibly strategic alliances, and just sheer force of will, Temujin does the impossible. He brings all of the warring Mongol clans together, finally, under a single banner. And for pulling off this incredible feat, the now unified tribes give him a brand new title, Genghis Khan. It means ruler of all. And you have to understand, this wasn't just a coronation. This was the birth of a brand new power on the world stage. From this moment on, history was never going to be the same.
Okay, so with the tribes finally united, Genghis Khan unleashes this military force that was unlike anything the world had ever known. So what was their secret? What made them so terrifyingly effective?
Well, their power really came from this perfect storm of skills. First off, they were absolute master horsemen who basically lived their lives in the saddle. They were also deadly archers who could shoot with incredible precision, at a full gallop. This was all backed up by this unmatched discipline, truly genius battlefield tactics, and a terrifying mastery of psychological warfare. I mean, they spread so much terror that a lot of cities would surrender without even putting up a fight.
And the result of this unbelievable military machine? At its peak, they conquered and ruled over an estimated 100 million people. The empire itself spanned nearly 24 million square kilometers. To put that in perspective, that's the largest contiguous land empire in the history of the world, period. The scale of it is just staggering. We're talking from the shores of Korea all the way to the heart of Europe, from the deep forests of Russia down to the deserts of Iran. They didn't just conquer nations, they literally connected worlds that had been almost completely separate for centuries.
But, this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. Because if you only think of Genghis Khan as a brutal conqueror, you're really only getting half the picture. He was also an incredible visionary, an administrator of just absolute genius.
This is where it gets really complex, right? On one hand, you have the feared military leader. But on the other, you have the visionary. He knew that an empire built only on fear would eventually crumble. So he created a strict legal code called the Yasa. He established complete religious freedom, which was totally unheard of at the time, to keep all his diverse subjects from fighting each other. And maybe most importantly, he built his empire not on who your father was, but on merit, ruthlessly punishing corruption while rewarding loyalty above all else.
And just think about the genius behind their military tactics for a second. That lightning speed wasn't just about pure skill, it was brilliant logistics. Warriors would bring multiple horses with them on campaigns, switching mounts to stay fresh. This allowed them to cover these massive distances at a pace that no one else could match.
And this pragmatic approach, it ran through their whole society. It wasn't just the men who were formidable. Mongol women were famously skilled. Many of them could ride and shoot with a proficiency that actually rivaled the best male warriors. This was a crucial asset for defending the homeland when the main armies were out conquering.
So, to control this massive empire, Genghis needed one thing above all else: information.
So he created this incredible communication network called the Yam. It was basically a super efficient postal system with relay stations that could move messages, intelligence, even goods across entire continents in just a matter of days. It was literally the nervous system of the whole empire.
His impact was so massive that it echoes down to our time, not just historically, but maybe even biologically. Now, this is still debated, but some genetic studies suggest that millions of people around the world today might carry a direct genetic link to Genghis Khan himself. It's just a wild testament to his complicated and enduring legacy.
So what happened after the Great Khan's death? I mean, an empire that big, built by one man, what happens next? Well, it didn't just vanish. It transformed, and its legacy continued to shape the entire world for centuries to come. The empire was just too massive for one person to rule, so it was divided up among his descendants into 4 great khanates. You had the Uran dynasty in China, the Ilkhanate in Persia, the Golden Horde over in Russia, and the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia. Each one of these became a major power in its own right, and they forever changed the culture and history of the lands they ruled.
And what about Mongolia today? Well, incredibly, it's still one of the last great nomadic societies on Earth. Many people there still live in traditional homes called gurs. They still ride horses across those vast grasslands, and they live by a culture built on these ancient values of strength, honor, and a really deep sense of hospitality. It's a country with a pretty small population, but a history that truly changed the world.
From that one boy named Temujin to the empire that shook the entire world, the story of the Mongols is just carved so deep into the history of all of humanity. It's this incredible journey from a bunch of scattered, warring tribes to a force that completely redrew the map of the known world.
And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. By connecting East and West on a scale that had never been seen before, the Mongols set in motion changes that we still feel today, which really makes you wonder, how different would our modern, interconnected world look today if this empire had never been built?